Hi everybody, this is Vinny and welcome to Complain Time. This is a show we take a moment while the boss is out of the office to talk about some things that really just quite frankly annoy us to death. Because you know what they say, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Or in this case, complain about stuff that just drives us all crazy. Now before we go any further, I want to give you guys an opportunity to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Complain Time, as well as other additional HVMA content. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat for you guys on Complain Time, because once again, we have a topic, and once again, it's not me giving the topic. This time, ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing back a man who, last time he was here, rocked the Complain Time world. Also, you've seen him on multiple other episodes of Complain Time, including the headphones and the coffee machine. He's also been in the cemetery ad, the Show Me the Money ad, and of course you know him from the Regular Guys and the Going Live show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back the one, the only, Mr. Jerry Truman.
Hello, hello. I am back once again to complain about another topic, and this time I want to complain about bad interviews. And the bad interviews I'm talking about are job interviews. The most important interviews in your life that determines a lot of things about you, if you're fit for the job or not. Not all interviews are good, which is why I'm here on Complain Time to tell you all about the horrible things that go wrong on job interviews. The first thing wrong is when the person interviewing you asks questions that have no pertaining to the job. Most of the time, they're bad questions, such as, are you pregnant? Do you hate having a female boss? Or something horrible such as, are you gay? All of those questions let the person you're interviewing know you support workplace discrimination, and that's just bad for business. Bad questions on a job interview just make the person you're interviewing not want to work for you or go work for your competitor. The next thing about bad interviews I hate is when the person that's interviewing you is late for their scheduled interview to interview you. Time is money and money is time, and that's just disrespectful to the person you're interviewing. I know so much happens when you're managing a business, such as too many customers, dealing with being short-staffed, or dealing with an important meeting that you didn't know was going to come up. If you're having trouble finding the time to interview people to your job, get human resources to help you out while you take care of your other business. Being late to interview a person that you're supposed to interview shows that you're unreliable and makes the person you're interviewing wonder, how the hell can you be a leader? Being late to an interview for your job is just bad. The other thing I hate about job interviews is when the person that's interviewing you deals with multiple interruptions or multitask on some bullshit such as browsing Tinder or using OnlyFans while interviewing you. When people are being interviewed, they want to feel important and work with someone that's not going to let the little things in life rule over important things. Job interviewers that multitask on distraction apps should know is that there's a time and a place for everything. Finally, the last thing I hate when being on a job interview is that I hate when the boss comes up to interview you while you're filling out the job application. That's a really dumb thing to do, because most of the time when the boss interviews you while you're filling out the application, they ask you the same questions that you're filling out on the application. Jeez. When bosses do that, they give the impression that you're going to micromanage everything they do once you hire that person. Do that with a lady and she'll be quick to go creep in no time. I know having people that are eager to work at your job is something exciting in business, but there's a limit a person can do when it comes to applying at a job. These are most of the things that are bad when it comes to job interviews, and if you're a person that hires people for a job, I hope you learned something and don't be one of these bad people that do bad things when it comes to job interviews. And now, I'm going to go ahead and just get an opinion from my buddy, the Booch, the main creator of Complain Time that was nice enough to let me complain here.
All right,
Booch,
well,
tell us what you think.
Okay, well, first of all, let me just say thank you for allowing me to be on the episode with you, but I got to ask this one question.
Okay.
Before I even say anything. Okay. The Tinder and the OnlyFans.
Yes.
Is it a real thing that actually happens? Like, if you actually go on a job interview and see this, I need to know.
Actually, I didn't, but with the amount of, let's see, bad bosses around, I actually believe it's a thing that can happen. And with the popularity of apps around, I just know they can be a distraction and someone is just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. Back when I used to work at Lowe's back in the day,
okay.
we had a coworker. He doesn't work there anymore, and I'm not going to say his name. Okay. This dude literally would look at porn on his iPhone.
Wow.
Like, out in the, like he would have it, like, close to, like, down there, but if you, like, happen to walk, so you have to, like, walk behind him or past him. But there were times people literally walked up to him, and he was so entrenched in the porn. And the thing is, he wasn't even, like, he wasn't even doing anything sexual to himself.
Okay.
He was just looking. Like, he wasn't, like, looking with his pants around his ankles. He was just looking at the porn. And it was always, and I was like, what kind of porn is this guy looking at? They would tell me it's like POV kind of porn or something like weird. I never caught him. But there were times where I was like, I would actually try to look at his phone sometimes just to be like, just because I wanted to hear if the rumors were true. But then, like, so many people were telling me this guy looked at porn. I'm like, this guy doesn't strike me as anyone who would look at porn.
All right, because I know how rumors can start at the job, and
exactly.
Then people can just say rumors just to get rid of somebody, but then just looking for yourself is just, right there.
Well, yeah. And he was always nice to me, but a lot of other people didn't like him. So I was just trying to figure out, like, if that was true or not. Because that OnlyFans thing, I was thinking to myself, that is weird as hell if you're doing an interview and a guy's just swiping on Tinder the whole entire time. Like,
looks like he's trying to interview for a date and another date to have at his job or something.
I'm like, what the hell? And then that's just ridiculous. And when you were talking before about about interviewers that, like, are either late or unreliable.
Yeah.
This is the story I have.
Okay.
As you guys know, if you know my history, for years everybody, from whether it was on the regular guys or in the comedy scene or whatever, I was known as the Home Depot guy for years. That's why when I left and went to Lowe's, like, Jamie Ward was one of the first guys to, like, message me and stuff.
Okay.
Like, dude, you went to Lowe's? I'm like, yeah. I thought I was just leaving and going to another job. I didn't realize that it was like leaving WCW and going to the WWF back in the 90s. Apparently I was defecting. Apparently I wasn't just switching jobs. I defected to the enemy or something like that. So when I worked at Home Depot, when I got the job there, the HR guy that was working there at the time was so lazy with getting me the job. I filled out a job application.
Right.
I waited about a week, didn't hear anything.
Right.
So I drove up. I physically drove up to the Home Depot because it wasn't that far from my house. I go in, I meet the HR guy, and I say, I apply for a job, I'd like an interview, being polite. And he said, okay, I'll call you in a few days. I said, okay. He said, I'll call you Wednesday. It was on a Monday.
Yes.
So I waited for Wednesday. Didn't get a call. Thursday, drove back. Said, hi, I'm Vinny. You were supposed to call me yesterday. Guy sits me down. We have a couple interview questions. I tell him my availability, my schedule. I'm juggling school, everything else. He's like, okay. He said, I'll call you Monday. Monday goes by, don't hear nothing. Tuesday, drove back. I had to make 5 trips to the Home Depot just to get a job.
Wow.
Finally, I got one.
Okay.
I finally got the paperwork filled out, the start date, the appointment for the drug test, all that fun stuff. Got it done, got the job. And one time, like, I was talking to, like, a supervisor or something, and they were telling the story about, like, about working here. And I was like, yeah, it's like we're glad to have you on the team. I was like, and I just happened to say out loud, yeah, it took them long enough. Like, what? And I told them what happened. Within a couple of days, HR guy was gone.
Wow.
They fired the HR guy and got a new one because that dude apparently he had other lazy things he was doing,
right.
And that was the final straw, not taking forever to hire me. So we took care of that. So I've had that bad experience in interviews, and I've never really had as far as me having job interviews, most of mine have just been awkward. Like I can't imagine being involved in any of these. Like having do you hate having a female boss? And I'm like, who cares if I do?
I know.
It's here's the thing. I don't mind having a female boss.
Right.
My problem was some of the female bosses I had were they had attitudes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they were. I didn't. It's not about having a female boss. It's that the female bosses I had weren't likable. There's some that I've had. I've worked for plenty, and I've worked for a couple females in the past that I had no problem working for them. Why? Because they were fair. They were good to me. If I was respectful to them, they were respectful to me. Whatever. And that's it.
Exactly.
It's not about being a female boss. If you're a female boss that knows how to do her job, is good to everybody.
Right.
You're easy to work with. You delegate and you're fair.
Right.
People are going to like you. But if you come in with this feminist hardcore attitude, assuming everybody hates you and making yourself unlikable, then no one's going to want to work for you. Nobody wants to work for a boss that they don't like. I mean, sometimes we have to pay the bills.
Right.
But if we have the option to get away from this bad boss, we will. And here's the thing.
Exactly.
I've had guy bosses that were douchebags. Didn't like them. So it had nothing to do with that. And then I remember the gay thing. I'm going to tell this story. I have a friend who's a manager.
Okay.
I won't say the person's name.
Okay.
He was a manager at a company, and he was interviewing this guy to do accounting for his company.
Okay.
So he's interviewing the guy. They're having a great conversation, and at one point in the conversation, the guy and my friend didn't ask the question. The employee just brought it up.
Okay.
He said, "Before you hire me, there's something I have to tell you." He said, "Okay, what is it?" And he goes, "I'm gay." And my friend just looks at him and goes, "Okay. Is that going to prevent you from doing your job in any way?" And the guy said, "No." He said, "Then why'd you tell me?" He said, "Dude, I don't care if you're gay. Just do the accounting." As long as he was like, "Look, as long as the only time unless you being gay is gonna prevent you from doing the accounting, I don't care what you do in your own time. Who you bang is your business.
Exactly.
Do the accounting."
Right. I think he probably just brought it up just to see if they were going to either discriminate against him or probably make it a hard time. But with most places, it's they don't really care unless you, like you said, just get whatever it is with the job done.
Yeah. Unless you're let's say you're gay and you have a job.
Right.
But let's say you're not getting your job done because you're on gay porn sites all the time. That might be a factor in getting you fired because you're too busy looking at porn, not enough time doing your job.
Yeah, almost the same thing, with the OnlyFans I mentioned,
exactly.
or Adult Friend Finder or whatever it is.
And so the thing is that with job interviews is that just usually you just got to be professional, but sometimes the other guy takes forever. Bosses who take forever on an interview is insane. There are some bosses that just ask insane questions or they throw scenarios at you. And you're just sitting there first of all, they'll say okay, you have this situation, you're in this situation, what do you do? It's dude, I have a high anxiety. People, I always get nervous in job interviews. I don't do well in job interviews. Hell, I told the story on Wednesday Wisdom a while back. When I did the interview here, I bombed. Because I was nervous, I was scared, I had anxiety, I didn't know what the hell to do. But the boss saw something in me, so he brought me back for a second interview. We talked. He eventually gave me the job, and then I showed what I could do. I just needed that moment to get out of my shell because I was so intimidated. And that was what really, and I was intimidated because, all the things that I've done in my career.
Right.
And I can talk to you about it because you've been there for everything. You saw on the regular guys all the crazy things I did.
Right.
You saw on Adult Swim all the crazy things I did. For years, everyone kept telling me those things would be a detriment to me getting what they called a real job.
A job is a job.
That's just that. That's not a job. I agree with that. I hate the real job aspect.
Same here.
But they always said that's going to be a detriment. No one's going to want to hire you. Here's the thing. He was mad that I brought none of that up in the interview. He had to Google me and go find this stuff. He had to go on my YouTube channel. He found me eating the car. He found me wearing the bra on Daytime Fighting League. He found the regular guy stuff. All the things that I did on the internet that I was scared to tell him because I wanted the job and I wanted to show that I was professional because everybody kept telling me that's what they want you to be. They did that. Like, the key thing is, 9 times out of 10, if you're yourself, you get hired.
Authenticity.
Now, obviously, there is some level of professionalism and decorum that you have to have in an interview.
True.
You just have to. You got to dress the part. You got to walk in. You got to answer the questions. But at the same time, don't be afraid to be yourself. They're hiring you, not just the position. You know? So that's another key thing. And it's just that the micromanaging thing. That is something that, before on the Rude Bosses episode, like, nobody wants a micromanaging boss. Nobody. I mean, nobody likes to be told every little thing to do every moment of every day. It's like, if you're doing the job right, or you know this person can do the job right, don't bother those people.
It's like if you hired it's like you hired that person, but yet you can't trust them. It's like, then why'd you hire them in the first place?
Exactly. If you're so worried that I'm not going to do the job right, why'd you hire me? Like, you're basically wasting both of our time at that point. But definitely, interview questions. The weird thing is I can't remember having any crazy interview questions. Although I did have another story. I have another story. A comedian friend of ours went for a job interview. I don't know if I want to say his name, but I'll tell you who it is when we're done. But he told me.
I think we'll call him K.
Let's call him K. Okay. All right. And that has no relation to his name at all. Literally, I'm gonna tell you that. But but off the air, I'll tell you. I mean, when we're done, I'll tell you who it is.
Okay.
But what happened was he went into an interview and he was a comedian.
Okay. And
they saw on his resume he was a comic. And he asked him the question that everybody asks when they find out we're a comedian. Jerry, do you know what's the question?
Tell me a joke.
Yes. Not just that. He said, tell him a joke from his act. And if you've seen this guy perform, you know that's the one thing you don't want him to do. Because his humor is very dark. I'm looking at this guy like, no, don't ask. If somebody has comedian on their resume, do not ask them to tell a joke. You have to have very thick skin to handle comedian jokes, especially jokes from our act. Now, some of them might not be edgy or as vulgar in nature, but we do talk about off-the-wall topics, what comedians do. We comment on things. We give real perspectives. We give our own versions of the truth.
Point of views of what we feel.
How we feel and how we see it. Yeah. Like, you can't ask comedians to just tell a joke. Because sometimes jokes from your act don't translate the same. Like, a joke that I tell on stage that will kill doesn't translate well to video. It's like, when I was on the regular guys, they made me tell my jokes on the air. They bombed most of the time. Why? Because they didn't work in a radio setting. But they work on stage. It's complicated, it's weird, but it works. Like, that's why comedians, most of them, don't like to do their bits on the radio. Hell, the regular guys didn't even like that. They just want to have conversation. I'll make you laugh organically and then come to the show and see the act. But never ask a comedian to tell a joke unless you know you can handle it. Like, thankfully, I have a job where the boss can handle it. I even ran, I performed here during an office party, my third week on the job, and I even went over some of these jokes, like, are these going to be okay? And he said, do you? We just having fun. And he ended up loving everything. So I lucked out. But in some cases, you got to have thick skin for a comedian to tell a joke. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're one of those people that's easily offended by things, if you don't know how to take a joke, if you think there are topics that should never be joked about, if you're one of those people, for lack of a better term, snowflake, don't ask people to tell jokes at work. Because the people who are there, they're trying to keep their job. The comedian's not going to tell you a joke. Why? Because he wants to get the job. Because he needs the money to finance the comedy.
Or worse, he'll probably be under a whole lot of pressure to do the worst, which is steal a joke.
Yeah. Just because it's a clean one. But he knows it'll make the guy laugh just to do that. Because you're backed into a corner. It's like, okay, I'll use this joke from this comic from like the 80s. He'll laugh at that, and then I can just get through this interview. And then when I get on stage, I'll do my own stuff. But like, don't ever do that. That's insane. You know, I just never understood why interviewers do stuff like that. It's like, don't ask the person to be a human being if that's not what your job environment entails.
Right. I think like one of the best questions, like if you're interviewing a comedian, like one of the cool things, well, this happened with me, because I remember I was put in a position to where I just admitted that I won an award for doing comedy. And when I told her that, she went awesome, and I thought she was going to ask me to tell me a joke, but instead, she did like one of the right things, which was asking me who was my favorite comedian, and then I told her Gabriel Iglesias, and it turned into a fun conversation where the lady interviewing me when I used to work at the AMC Fork and Screen, she just happened to be someone that loved comedy, and then that interview went good from there.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. Like and like you said before, if you can't make the interview, usually it's the HR person who does the interviewing anyway.
Right.
You rarely see the boss.
Right.
Usually the boss comes in at like part 2. Like that's how it was when I went to Lowe's. I talked to the HR lady first, and then later on, once I was done talking to her, the supervisor I was going to work for came in, sat down, and then I had a conversation with her. And then luckily, I had my friend Kristen on the inside. She put me over, and I got me the job. But usually you're talking to the HR person. You rarely talk to the actual boss themselves. And, and then, of course...
unless probably it's their own business, and they're just really starting and really on a tight budget.
Yeah. And I remember one time, before this interview that I did here, the last interview I had was a long time ago. And I was interviewing for this job that I found out was, remember I did that product demonstration thing?
Jesco?
Yeah, Jesco thing in the store. This is something similar to that.
Okay.
And I told them, I basically said that I wanted to not have a commission-based job, because even though they gave you like a good base pay, there was also mostly commission, and I didn't want a job like that. And we found out later it was a similar job like that, so we realized halfway through the interview, I wasn't going to take the job.
Okay.
So we just had a fun conversation afterwards. And he asked me a question about, you know, what was some of the craziest moments I had there. And a part of me in the back of my mind was thinking, is he trying to get information on the competition or something like that? And that's another thing you need to watch out for in interviews. Sometimes they know you work for a competitor, they'll try to get you to give them dirt on the competitor.
Right.
So, never do that. And I'll tell you why you never do that. Because A, you might be burning a bridge with another place you may want to go back to. I don't know how you feel depends on how you feel when you left the job. And number 2, I think you're the type of person that will give them dirt for the competition. They'll probably think to themselves, well, how do I know he won't give dirt on me? Sometimes you dig yourself a hole.
Right.
Yeah. Be mindful of that.
Ooh.
Now, I did answer his question, but I didn't give him, like, any dirt. I basically just told him a funny story. And it was when we were doing this, like, mandolin slicer thing, we were talking about cutting onions. And one of the things they give you is they give you a script on things to say. And one of the things in the script was a joke to make people laugh. They said, I shed more tears chopping onions than I do losing girlfriends. And I thought it was stupid. Now for the girls, they gave them the boyfriend line. And I thought it was stupid because I look at it like this. I've always said, unless it's a girl you genuinely loved, like with all your heart, guys, we're not going to cry if we lose a girlfriend. We really don't. Unless you were deeply in love, like I'm gonna marry this girl, and then she dumps you, that'll rip your heart out. But if it's just a girl and you were like just having fun, maybe there was a future, but mostly all just having fun, I'm not gonna care that much. So I thought this is gonna be stupid for guys. The girls are gonna care for the guys. So I changed it up.
Okay.
And I changed the joke, and I basically said, I've shed more tears chopping onions than I have watching a Falcons game.
Wow.
Because and it gets a laugh. Yeah. Because even though it's Atlanta and we all love the Falcons, we know they suck. I'm sorry. I get it. It's Atlanta. We're supposed to be Falcons, rise up. We're still waiting for the rise. That's all I'm saying. Like, God, I still give people crap over the Super Bowl. How do you blow a 28-3 commanding lead and then just get steamrolled in the fourth quarter? Like, Jesus. So I did that. Everybody laughed. Some people would get upset, and I just look at them like, you know I'm telling the truth. Like, come on, man. Don't be like that.
I see you must have had a lot of Saints fans then.
No, I didn't have one.
Okay.
No, they weren't Saints fans. They just got the joke.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because it's like Falcons fans,
Right.
they still love the Falcons. They still want them to win. But you know.
Right.
You know.
It's obvious.
It's obvious they're not doing well.
Right.
It's obvious they choke. It's obvious they lose.
Right.
You're angry. You still want them to win. You still go to the games. You still have a good time. But you know. You know they're terrible right now. You hoping they'll get better. And if they do, it's going to be a great comeback story.
Right.
But until you get the story, you know they suck.
Right.
So he laughed at that. I clapped a little bit. Then I wanted to the interview because I knew I wasn't going to get the job.
Right.
You know? And then, of course, I'll tell this last story because
Okay.
I know we're going on, but I got to tell this
But
story.
this is cool, though.
One other interview I had.
Okay.
I found this. I didn't find out till later. This is a commission-based job. I was going to this marketing company,
Okay.
and they said, and I was saying, like, you know, I said, obviously I want to make a decent amount of money. Like, I don't expect to make $100,000 right off the bat, but I'd like it to pay really well. And they said starting salary is $35,000 a year. This is like back in 2012,
Okay.
like 13. What was happening? So it's like starting salary is $35,000 a year. I'm like, I'm listening.
Okay.
You have my attention, sir. So they told me, we'll bring you back tomorrow. We'll show you what we do. I'm like, okay. So I come back the next day. Keep in mind, I missed a regular guy's appearance to do this, by the way.
Wow.
They were going to go watch the regular guys eat. I missed that to go to this interview. I regret it to this very day. And the guy's telling me this. I meet this guy, his name's Russell.
Okay.
So he said one of our biggest clients is AT&T. So, all right. So I hop in his truck. I'm driving with him.
Okay.
And we're driving. I think we're going, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to an AT&T building. I'm going to see a sales pitch. Like in Mad Men. You know, they got those little boards up there. They do the little pitch things.
Right.
So I'm thinking we're going to that. So I'm in this car. I'm excited. All of a sudden, we pull into this neighborhood. We get out of the truck. I see him with a clipboard. Like, what the hell?
Uh-oh.
He knocks on the front door, and he says, "Hi, I'm Russell. I'm with AT&T." And I'm like, no
What?
I just now found out this is a door-to-door soliciting sales job. These are the guys that knock on the door. Well, let's just say AT&T. Those guys. I'm like, no. Now, at this point, I realize, I know at this exact moment, I don't want this job. The only problem is, we drove here in his truck. So for 8 hours, for 8 grueling, agonizing hours, I had to go door to door and help this guy sell AT&T. For 8 hours, Jerry. I couldn't leave. I couldn't go anywhere. If we had drove in separate cars, I'd have peeled the out. But I couldn't leave.
Hey, 8 hours, that's like from almost Atlanta to New Orleans just about.
Yeah, but it's an 8-hour shift. You know, like
Right,
you work the shift in 8 hours. That's what I meant by it was 8 hours.
Yeah.
I'm on this guy's shift. And I'm sitting here, and we're knocking on doors. And here's the thing. He's in, like, you know, a yellow jacket stuff. I'm in my suit. Because I came to an interview. So I'm walking around, I'm in a suit, this guy's talking, I'm in the corner, I hands like this, I'm shaking. I look like a damn Jehovah's Witness. Please, God, I'm cold, God, I'm cold, God, I'm cold, God, I'm cold. Because it was December. It's freaking December. In the wintertime in Georgia. You know how cold it gets. I'm like, and then this guy's like telling me, I'm like, all right, well, I said $35,000 a year, maybe I can endure this. We stop at a McDonald's.
Okay.
And he's sitting down, explaining to me the salary arcs and everything and how it works. And he goes, okay, do you see why these bottom positions here are commission-based? I said, huh?
So
what do you mean commission-based? I said, no, it's not. I said, I just spoke to the guy in the building, and he said to me, he said the starting salary was $35,000 a year. And he said, yeah, up to $35,000 a year. I'm like, you lying second. And that's another thing. Don't lie in the interview. That's the worst thing you can do. You need to let people know up front. This is the pay. This is the salary. They usually mention that in the
don't
application.
even try to sugarcoat phrases, too.
Yeah. and act like you're some type of big marketing media group when all you do is go door to door and solicit people, which nobody likes, and most places it's illegal. Why would anyone want that job? How do you have that job and have a smile on your face? Nobody likes you. Instantly, nobody likes you. Has anyone, I'd like to meet somebody that's actually had somebody come to their door and ask them to switch to AT&T, and they actually did it. I'd love to meet these people.
I actually think by now soliciting would be dead or so.
Maybe now.
Yeah.
Maybe now with COVID it might be dead, but I guarantee you, in 2012, 2013, it was alive and well. I'm telling you, dude, it was insane. I had to go through this crap. I finally get back to the building. I'm cold. The guy wants to sit down and talk to me, ask me about the experience. I verbally lit into his when I got there. I said, y'all told me all this stuff. I'm now finding out this is commission-based. I'm going door to door. I ain't interested. I just got up and left. I was so mad. And here's the thing. I didn't go for job interviews ever again after that. Outside of Lowe's and here after that. Because I was like, I don't trust any of this anymore. It's like there's actual scam jobs out there like that. And I think that's disgusting.
It is.
And they try to cover it up with big words to make the job seem like it's more important than it actually is, like, Executive Vice President of Sanitation. You're the garbage man.
Exactly.
You're the garbage man. Or like in Half Baked when Dave Chappelle say, I'm a master of the custodial arts. You're a janitor. Okay? And no, I don't want to be a about it.
Right.
You're a janitor. Okay?
Right.
Don't get some big fancy word to try to cover up the fact that I'm doing the job. Like, look, if the job pays well and I'm desperate for employment, I will take it. And here's the thing. No offense if you are a garbage man.
Exactly.
No offense if you are a janitor. If that's what you got to do to pay the bills, pay the bills. But don't give yourself some big fancy title. Okay? I'm not falling for it.
And as a former dishwasher guy, I find them resourceful and all.
Yeah.
And essential and everything.
I'm just saying, you were the dishwasher.
Right.
You were not the executive vice president of plate, soap, and water. Okay? You were a freaking dishwasher. That's all I'm saying.
I would even still yell, I'm a dishwasher.
Exactly. You were a dishwasher.
And if you really want to put like a fancy name on me, you could have called me the Dish Pit DJ. And for those that are trying to wonder, the Dish Pit DJ is the dishwasher guy that controls the music in the dish pit.
Yeah, Dish Pit DJ. That's not bad. That's not a bad name, but I'm just saying, or when they would say, Vinny is a front-end associate. I was a cashier. All right? Get the front-end customer service associate crap. I was a cashier. I stood in front of a register, took your money, I gave you your change in your receipt, and I said, have a nice day. Even though at the time, I could have cared less if you had one. But I said it. It's what you do.
Right.
Just don't insult people's intelligence. Let me know if this is the job they want. Clearly, if they're applying for a job like that, they need it. And just, interviews can be good, bad, crazy, indifferent. And it's scary as hell to go on.
And then sometimes you even know what place it'll be in, because you don't know if it'll be in a sketchy building that's unsafe or something.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you pull to those places, you're just like, oh dear, good God. Why am I here? What's this? It's like it's an office building. This is not an office building. It might have been an office building once, but this is like a building that's either about to collapse because the government wants it torn down, or just because it's gonna fall one day. One of those places. You just walk in, you're just like, okay, this is not the photo you had on Craigslist. This is not it. Actually, it's a good thing too, because I can see the boss making his way up the stairs. So that'll conclude Complaint Time for today. So before we go, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Complaint Time, as well as other additional HVMA content. Check back soon for a new episode. And until then, stay social.